Hello, my loves. It is Monday morning rambles. I want to talk about yoga only because this past week was International Yoga Day, and this weekend I'm teaching classes. And I had asked my students, like, whenever we start a class, I always ask them to set an intention or to dedicate their yoga practice to someone that they love, or maybe someone we don't even know. And today I asked them, instead of setting an intention, I wanted them to take a moment of gratitude for yoga and like what brought them onto their mat their first time and what they've learned along the process. And I wanted to share my story. Um, I'm going to share how I started yoga, why I started yoga, and basically what I've learned through the years. So, Baba, can they see you? I wonder if they can see you. Today we have Baba. I think last video we had Henrik. Also, if you hear rain and thunder, there's like a monsoon happening outside right now. So love that for us. But basically, I started yoga when I want to say 26 years old. So like around 2006 is when I started. The reason I found it was because I've mentioned it before. I was in a really bad abusive relationship. And the way it ended was, can't even write this. So he ended up getting gastric bypass surgery, and like not even a month later, we broke up. He broke up with me because he cheated on me with someone who lived like right across the street from us. They ended up moving in together. They ended up having a baby together. So it was a clusterfuck to the point that I remember one time, bless you, one time I was going to work and I was driving at the time, and I went to my car and someone took a garbage bag and threw garbage all over my car. And to this day, I'm pretty sure it was his girlfriend at the time who did that. It was just a shit show. So he ended up having the surgery to lose weight. He was like 300 plus pounds and I was like 200 plus pounds. And I remember thinking, like, at this point, it's such a sucky way it happened. But the reason that I got into like fitness and changing my lifestyle was almost a like, I'll show you kind of mentality. Like, yes, you're having surgery to lose weight, but I'm going to show you that I can do it on my own. I'm not going to need any surgery, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but that was the mentality that I had at the time. And I changed everything. I worked out quite obsessively. Like, it was, thank God for therapy, because I know it was a really, the way I did it was extreme. But along the process, I would do workout magazines, like workouts and magazines. I was in Self Magazine once, and I discovered this show. It was called Namaste Yoga, and it was on Fit TV on my cable. And it was like a 25 minute yoga class. And it was just these three girls in this beautiful scenic place, and they would just do different yoga routines. And that was my first glimpse into yoga. And it's funny because the reason I refer to myself as Namaste Mari is because I did these classes, and the show was called Namaste Yoga. So it just felt right. But I always say that yoga saved my life because honestly, I was very depressed. I had a couple of suicide attempts. I don't like talking about that, but one of the attempts was my wrist. I don't want to talk about that, but I ended up getting a namaste tattooed right there just as a reminder that I can get through like anything. Like, yes, I went through this hard time, but I have this reminder and it covers up the scar on my wrist. So, anyways, so that's that. But for me, yoga was always very personal, and I did not want to teach it. I was a personal trainer at the time from like working out. I had a nutritionist, and she was like, "Hey, you're really great with the workouts. So like, why don't you like go into personal training?" And I'm like, "You think so?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think a lot of people would like benefit from that." So that's how I started personal training. So from personal training, I did that. That was like my outlet for fitness, but I never wanted to teach yoga because I didn't want it to become like my job and something that I dreaded. So I was like, no, no, I'm not going to teach yoga. It's too personal for me. I don't want to do that. And I remember right before I went into yoga teacher training, someone found me on Instagram and they were like, hey, we have a summer camp and we would love for you to come and teach. And I was like, well, I'm not a yoga teacher. I just practice. And they're like, yeah, but we saw your Instagram and I think it would be a great fit. I was like, that's not the way it works. But regardless, I ended up going. It was actually a kids' yoga camp. It was actually a kids' summer camp, and they wanted me to teach yoga to the kids. And that was my first time ever teaching. And I kid you not, I had never felt more alive in that moment. Like, I remember I was leaving the school that I was teaching at, and I was in an Uber because I was on my way to get a tattoo. And in the Uber, I was already looking for like yoga schools. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, I knew in that moment, like that was my purpose. So I looked for yoga schools, and then I remembered that I had a friend that went to yoga school, and I reached out to her, and she put me in touch with my guru. And it was funny because that was supposedly the last year she was going to do yoga teacher training. And I was like, shit, like this is it. Like this is the moment. Like I have to do this. And it's funny because the yoga school that I went to when I was a kid, I lived 2 blocks away from it. And I remember when we would go to the supermarket, we would always pass by this yoga studio, and it just said yoga. It was an ashram and it just said yoga. And we would pass by and you couldn't really see inside. And I was like, what the hell is yoga? Like, what is this place? And it's funny because it's opened in 1980 and I was born in 1980. So it was like a full circle moment. But anyways, that was their last teacher training and I got in. And ever since then, like, it's just been like life changing. I discovered yoga when I was in a dark, dark place in my life. I always say it saved my life, and I'm not saying that lightly because, yes, I was in the fitness thing and I was like working out and doing all these workouts, but yoga was so much more deeper than that for me. Like, it started off as a way for flexibility and stretching. And I tell my students, like, sometimes we go on our yoga mat and we go to a gym and we're looking for like the fitness aspect, but you learn so much more through it. And I've become this person because of yoga, and I owe so much to it, like to the point that like it is my career. I never would have thought that I would be a full-time yoga teacher, like never. And it's crazy, and it just, I think we all find that thing that resonates with us. And for me, it was teaching and it was my practice. And I'm so grateful that I wasn't selfish because I see how many people come to my classes. And I feel like if I didn't pursue this, I would not only be cheating myself of something that I'm supposed to be doing, which is like my dharma, I would be cheating them out of it as well. Because I've had so many students, like Wednesday, I had a lady tell me that they've added more classes into the studio where I teach. And my class is sometimes it's a difficult time to get to, but she says that she can go to the other classes that are easier, but she makes a point to come to my class because something that I do resonates with her. And she says even when she takes other classes, she still hears my voice in her head when she's practicing. So yeah, so in honor of International Yoga Day, I just wanted to share my story with y'all. And if you want to comment below and tell me like how you discovered yoga, maybe if you're a student of mine, like what have you received from our practice together? Like it's it's great to know that I've built this community, and I always joke that I'm not the typical yoga teacher, and maybe that's a double-edged sword because I wish I was sometimes a typical yoga teacher, but the fact that I'm not, it it's almost like it sets me apart from others. And yeah, so that's that. Baba, are you want to say anything to them? No, I think we're good. But yeah, so yes, share your story. I would love to hear your stories. And yeah, as always, my loves, thank you so much for watching, and namaste.